AM 1060 WMEL. The views expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and are not necessarily those of WMEL staff, management, or advertisers.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, your host for Focus on Seniors. Really, no, it's helping seniors. That's the old show, Focus on Seniors. But whether it's helping seniors or focusing on seniors, it's about seniors, care of seniors, and how we can do a better job. And I think over the next several months, folks, you're going to see some things coming out of the Brevard County Commission on Aging, the commissioners, Florida today. Things is going to make a difference in how seniors are able to take care of themselves. Now, notice I didn't say how we can take care of seniors. I said how seniors can take care of themselves. Information is tremendously valuable. And that's one of the things that Dr. Sheldon and I are going to talk about on today's show. The subject is halitosis, bad breath. He's got an article in our newsletter. But I did a lot of research, and it's a lot more involved than just simply brushing your teeth. And we're going to talk about that. But before I do that, Kay, I want you to call over to the radio station here and give me those 2 new sponsors. I forgot to add them to my list, so I want to give them credit during the second part of the show. But I always remind everybody that the purpose of Focus on Seniors is to educate, inform, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors to resources. Our office specialist, Kay Kaiser, can be reached at 473-7770. If you have a question, folks, call Kay. Listen to the sponsors for the first part of the show, and these sponsors are also going to become part of a new, expanded provider network. And I have a column coming out in Hometown News, Aldea Today, Ebony News Today, Hometown News, and I hope Florida Today will pick it up, and Senior Scene Magazine and Spotlight will have it. It talks about forming a senior provider network. And whether you all want to believe it or not, Kay gets calls all the time from people who says, who do you recommend to put a hot water heater in? Who do you recommend to fix my roof? Who do you recommend to do plumbing work, electrical work? Simple stuff, folks. Yard work. Seniors are being taken to the cleaners by people that purport to say they're doing a service at a great price when in fact are not doing it. So we decided to do something about it. We're putting together a provider network, and we have asked you, potential users, to call the office and tell us about organizations you think will do a good job by being part of this provider network. So call Kay at 473-7770. Tell her. The providers for the first part of this show, the sponsors, include Gentiva Healthcare, the Eye Institute, Solid Bite Dental Implant, Bill Johnson, Elder Law Attorney, and I could tell you all kinds of stories about those 2 people. I just got questions about Dr. Sheldon and Attorney Johnson. I gave a talk yesterday at Hibiscus Court, and one of the ladies at Hibiscus Court came up to me and said, say hello to Dr. Sheldon for me. He did a lot of implant work on her. I could tell she was happy. I didn't ask her how old she was, but I could tell she was happy. She was pleased with the work she had done. Dental impact work at her age made her feel better. So if everything we do, folks, can make us feel better, and quite frankly, talking the way I am right now on the show, I woke up this morning, took a pain pill because it hurt so darn bad, went back to sleep, woke up, and here I am. But I feel better talking about something that all of us need to be more aware of. Let me continue just with the sponsors, and I'll get Lee on. WMEL AM 1060, this radio station, Gustav Hospital Systems, Levin Home Care, Atlantic Shores Rehab, and Ebony News Today. Those are all people that are involved in either direct services to seniors or providing information about services that seniors can connect with. Folks, it wasn't just by happen chance that Aldea Today called Kay and said, we want to interview Joe. We want to get more information about what you're doing out to the Spanish community. We had the same thing from Benjamin Kane for the black community. We have the same thing with John Frederickson for Senior Scene Magazine. We are developing an elder care network, and this radio station, WMEL AM 1060, is a great part of it. We do a job of providing information, educating, and connecting seniors and those that care for seniors with people that need to receive help. That's pretty darn simple. So one of the Vern's typing who these people are. I'll get it during the show, and as soon as I get those two things, I'll mention these other two sponsors. But Lee's sitting there patiently waiting for me. He's got a dejected look on his face like, Joe, you're not going to let me talk. But no, my fear is, Lee, once I let you talk, then I can't shut you up where I can talk.
Yeah, you're right.
That's the first time you ever said I'm right. Folks, we got a subject today that sounds pretty simple. Sound maybe pretty mundane. Maybe it's something that we're embarrassed to talk about. But frankly, I think, Lee, that we need to talk more about topics like we are talking today. It's called halitosis, simple terms, bad breath.
Yeah. And it is clearly a problem. You don't sell billions of dollars of worth of toothpaste and mouthwashes if this isn't of concern to the public.
You don't do what?
You don't sell billions of dollars of mouthwashes and toothpaste if this isn't of concern to the public.
Is it a great market?
Halitosis?
Yeah.
Tremendous. Look at the number. Just go to any drugstore or any supermarket and take a look at the mouthwash part of the dental section. Look at the sprays, look at the rinses, look at the mouthwashes themselves, the liquids. It's a lot of shelf space.
You know, I didn't get to complete my research, but I got a lot of it. I still have it. It's just reading it all. I got about 30 pages I pulled off the internet.
Yeah.
Try to read about this. And there are a couple of products that look to me like they might be better than some of the other products. Are there, in your opinion, as a dentist, and I think we can rightfully talk about this because based on your experience, what are some of the products that you think do a better job of combating, or let's just say, what can I, and what can our listeners do to combat bad breath themselves?
Well,
that's costing a cent.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot to it. If we're simply going to go for mouthwashes, there's two different kinds of mouthwashes, basically. One is the cover-up mouthwash, those that have the minty fresh or the cinnamon flavor that cover up bad breath. Okay, and they'll last for a while. There are others that actually get to the heart of the problem. And if we're talking about an oral source, and I know you've done some research, so you're going to look at other sources as well, and we'll talk about that too. But if the source is an oral source, which means that there's bacteria on the tongue, in the throat, around the teeth, around the gums, that are producing a certain smell, which comes from actual sulfur compounds, that rotten egg smell.
Right.
Well, there are mouthwashes that will go right to the rotten egg smell and will oxygenate the area over a long period of time. In other words, you rinse out with it, and 12 hours later, it's still working. There's two products or two chemicals that we talk about here. One is zinc chloride, and the other one is, why can't I think of it, chlorine dioxide.
Chlorine dioxide.
So chlorine dioxide is actually, you know where chlorine dioxide was first used? In the airline industry.
What was it?
In the airline industry. So you have people who are getting off a plane, and you need to clean everything out, but you can't have anything that smells.
Okay.
Chlorine dioxide doesn't smell, and so it could act as a disinfectant and would provide an oxygenating agent to the air, the area would be clean, and you wouldn't have that, that chemical smell. They found out it could be used in the mouth too. And what it does, actually, when you use a chlorine dioxide mouthwash, and I can't give brands here. I'm not going to give brands. I want you to look at chlorine dioxide. Just look on the label. If you go to any of the drugstores, and I'm not sure if you'll find it at food stores, but drugstores you will find it. You'll find a couple of brands of chlorine dioxide mouthwash. What chlorine dioxide does, or what that mouthwash does, is when you rinse out and spit out, the chlorine dioxide remains attached to your tissues, remains attached to your gums, remains attached to your tongue, and continually provides oxygenation to that area in order to neutralize the sulfur compounds that are coming off the gums or coming off the tongue. And they can last for as long as 12 hours. Zinc chloride does the same thing, or lasts for as long. And so if you listen to some of the commercials that you have, particularly those commercials that are advertised by dentists, commercials by dentists who have actually created mouthwash products, these are the mouthwash products they've created. And they're a lot better than the simple cover-up mouthwashes.
Well, I was doing my research. I came across one that had addressed specifically the things you're talking about now when we talked about I need to get something for my eyesight. If you can find a mouthwash for my eyesight, that'd be a lot better. Chlorine dioxide, that's what we're talking about,
That's right, yeah.
There's a product called ProFresh Breath Care System.
Okay.
You ever heard of that?
I haven't heard of that brand, no.
Okay. There's quite a bit about it on the internet. And what I liked about it, folks, and you don't hear me generally talk about a product, but this product seems to pick up on what Dr. Sheldon is talking about in pretty simplistic lay terms, terms that we can understand. And that's what I go back and I'm going to make a toss here, a pitch for the Ultimate Mouth Manual. This is another topic that Lee covers in a book that he offers free to you all. It's called The Ultimate Mouth Manual. It's the second edition, and bad breath is covered in detail in that book, Lee.
Yeah, and just call the office at 259-9980. That's 259-9980, and say you want a copy of The Ultimate Mouth Manual. We'll mail it out to you.
It's fantastic, folks. And what I hope that we get into today in talking about bad breath is that there's so many other things that impact on causing bad breath and reasons why we should pay particular attention to bad breath, because bad breath often signals other problems, Lee. Can you name some of those?
Well, it does. I mean, if you're looking at diabetes, it's certainly it's part of that problem. If you're talking about periodontal disease, it's part of that problem. If you have lung issues, sinus issues, it's part of that problem. Most of it, however, is found in the mouth. And it's interesting. If we look at periodontal disease, which obviously I know something about, by the way, we're changing the name from Solid Bite Dental Implants to Solid Bite Comprehensive Dental Care.
You're going to change your name?
So it'll remain Solid Bite. But people get the idea that all we do is dental implants. We don't. We do full-service dentistry in our office.
That's probably a pretty smart thing to do, Lee.
It is. There are plenty of people who come into our offices and get partial dentures and get bridges and get everything else besides periodontal care and dental implants. Yes, we do see some of the most debilitated patients in the county. And by the way, I gave a lecture to periodontists last night on a couple of them. It's amazing the results that occurred and what occurs when you can diagnose a bad case and take a case of failed dentistry and make it into a case of successful dentistry. It's really nice. And so that's going to be our leaning. Of course, dental implants is part of that, but you don't want to just emphasize it's just dental implants. It isn't. It's diagnosis, it's treatment planning, it's looking for predictable treatment. That can involve dental implants, and sometimes it doesn't involve dental implants at all.
Let's think about what you've done. Okay, I've known you for a long time.
Yep.
You've been one of my very first supporters for the radio show. We started it back in 2000. You've been on the show. You've always talked about dental implants. Always talked about dental implants. We've brought in other topics, but I think the name of your organization sort of overshadowed, and then you did a really smart thing. You brought Not that you haven't done other smart things, but bring it.
Wait. Well, tell me about all the smart things. Go ahead.
Well, I'll mention a couple of smart ones I really think are smart. You brought Matthew in.
That's right. I brought Matthew in. That was one of the smartest moves I ever could have made.
But Matthew does all kinds of dentistry. He brings to your practice the new methods, and he helps teach you at the same time you help teach him.
I hope he's listening to this.
Well, it's true.
Yeah.
And if not, it's going to be recorded, and it's going to be archived, so you tell Matthew he's got to sit down and listen to it.
Good. I want him to hear it. Yeah.
Right? But the other part of it is you brought it,
I brought in Michelle. Dr. Furtado's in. And now, when we do examinations, there are 3 doctors examining you. Whether they're examining you directly or when they're or whether we're doing a case conference talking about the case. 3 doctors' opinions. We come up with a meeting of the minds, and then we go ahead and do it. I just love it. I'm going to take a case of a non-senior. For example, a patient who was very, very fearful of dental care. Just hadn't gotten dental care, needed a lot of dental care. Woman is only in her 30s. Well, she needed both surgical care and dental care, and she needed an anesthesiologist all at the same time. Fact is, she could get all of that done between Dr. Furtado and Dr. Matt Sheldon, and my giving advice. I actually didn't do any treatment, but I was certainly.
But who would do the anesthesiology in your office?
We have an anesthesiologist who comes in, a medical anesthesiologist who comes in for those cases. So that we had 4 doctors literally in the office doing the work, and what would take. In ordinary circumstances, you'd have to go to the surgeon's office, the periodontist's office, and you'd have to go to the general dentist's office and do it in 2 different locations. In fact, she was able to get all the work done all at one time with only 1 anesthesia bill rather than multiple anesthesia bills. It was really good.
So over the last, what you're doing now is just come about, I think, in the last 6 months.
The watershed year was really 2012 when Matthew actually came in.
Well, okay.
And then we found out what it meant to have a general dentist under the same roof. Originally, as you know, when Matthew came in, I said, I want you to fend for yourself. I'll be the periodontist. You be the general dentist. Our practices don't mix at all. 6 months later, my office manager, Danielle, as well as Eleanor, said, this is ridiculous. Let's combine practices and let's make it into a comprehensive care center. I had no idea what a difference that would make to patients, that they get their specialty work and the general work done all under one roof. It's really neat. But this isn't, we're not talking about halitosis now. Let's get back to halitosis.
I know, we're good.
This is the first time you and I have ever gotten off topic. It's just amazing. We've stayed on topic every show we've ever done, haven't we?
I know that.
Yeah.
You're the biggest storyteller that I have coming on the air. You know that.
I've got competition in you.
Yeah, but it's not just the manufacturing of a story. It's a manufacturing of fact, truth, untruth, everything else. It's always true, though. But let's get back to what we're talking about. The other thing, one of the things that where does bad breath come from?
Well, there are a lot of different sources. Let's take the worst source. Let's talk about garlic. Okay, so you eat garlic. Garlic is going to stay on the tongue. It's going to interact with bacteria in your mouth, and it's going to produce those sulfur compounds that are so stinky and stay around for a long time. You know, we're talking about using a chlorine dioxide mouthwash which stays around for a long time. Well, garlic is one up on chlorine dioxide. That stays around for a long time. And it goes in, is digested, it goes in through the bloodstream, and you smell it all over, not just in your mouth. You smell it coming off your skin. Well, at least in the mouth, we have a method of neutralizing that. So that's one. Garlic and onions are the typical thing. But the dangerous thing, at least for the teeth, is periodontal disease. You know, periodontal disease itself, we have now identified 11 different bacteria below the gum line that causes periodontal disease. It isn't just one disease. It's a bacterial disease that causes the loss of bone support for the teeth, which ultimately causes the teeth to get loose and come out. And it can be related to one or a combination of 11 different bacteria. And sometimes we have to treat one bacteria different from the other. Now we go even farther, and now we know that viruses are also involved, and we have to treat viruses differently from bacteria. So while it all involves gum a gum condition, while it all involves bone loss, we have to be very careful to separate out which bacteria or which virus is causing the problem so that we treat you correctly. When we have failed periodontal treatment, the question is, all right, was the patient a failure? And the patient can be a failure. Can be no matter what we try, it fails. Or it may be we didn't diagnose which bacteria it was in the first place, and therefore the work that was done didn't work because we really didn't get to the bacteria that needed to be treated. We didn't do the diagnosis well, and so we didn't get to the right antibiotic, for example, that might have helped that person. Or if it's a viral, we didn't give the patient an antiviral medication in order to be able to take care of that. So there's much more into it than just saying, oh, you've got periodontal disease, I'm going to clean your teeth. That isn't the idea anymore. It was, but, as science develops, we find out more and more.
Let's go back to...
but by the way, there's some smelly bacteria.
Yeah, okay.
Particular bacteria below the gum line that smell more than others. And so if you have one of the smelly bacteria, one of those 11 is a smelly type of bacterium, you're going to have bad breath. And unless, even chlorine dioxide won't work on that. Why? Because chlorine dioxide won't get below the gum line. Chlorine dioxide stays at the surface of the tissue. So if you still have smelly bacteria below the gum line, you've got to get that taken care of.
Okay. We're getting the signal. We're going to have to take our mid-show break, folks. And I'm going to close out for 2.5 minutes. Stay with us. We're going to come back and talk about sailors and a disease particular to sailors when we come back. Not the one you think, folks. Talk to you later.
AM 1060 WMEL.
This is Joe Steckler, folks, back live with the second half of Helping Seniors. I got it right this time. The purpose of Helping Seniors is to educate, inform, and connect seniors and those that care for seniors to resources. One of the best resources in this county, and I say it because I know it's true, is our information specialist, Kay Kaiser. That's the lady, Kay Kaiser, not the bandmaster. Kay Kaiser, the lady. Her office number is 473-7770. 473-7770. She is the person that helps connect you to the services that you need. More importantly, she's a voice on the other end of the telephone that listens to what you say and tries to figure out before she asks you a direct question, and what is the real problem? What do we really need to address? Kay is that type of person that can get that out of you in a nice way. See, most people make a phone call, and they got a pretty good idea of what they think they need. But sometimes people on the other end of the line that deal with problems like most of us have, and when they do this on a daily basis, they can sort of sense that a person needs help. One of the nicest things about it, folks, is that I don't know of anybody that has called our office in 16 months, whether the phone call has come in on a Monday or a Sunday, daytime or nighttime. Kay always answers that call. And the reason I know she answers the call is because all those calls come to my computer. I listen to what you say, and sometimes I call Kay and I said, do you need help in resolving a problem? Or, on the other hand, since I've been doing this 27 years, and I did it for 2 years before we were able to have enough financial resources to hire Kay, I did what she's doing now, along with all this other stuff. I'm not complaining. I'm just happy that I'm able to do it. But the knowledge I have needs to be passed on to somebody like Kay and a new director, and that's what our board of directors is looking for now. We'll be looking for a new director, somebody that I can help mentor over the next 6, 7, or 8 months so they have the knowledge base that I have, because whether we want to admit it or not, on-the-job training is probably one of the best resources anybody can develop, especially in the care business. Now, I want to mention the quick sponsors, then we're going to get back to today's topic. The sponsors for the second part of the show include Senior Scene Magazine, Hometown News, Spotlight Magazine, Seniors Helping Seniors, the Fountains of Melbourne, Beth Courtney of the Braswell Courtney Financial Team, Barbara McIntyre of Reverse Mortgage, Canadian Meds, Wiedemann Malik, Lawyers, Vitas Hospice, Peaceful Beach Mediation, and the two sponsors that I really forgot to mention were Handy Pro of the Space Coast and Riverview Senior Resort. Riverview Senior Resources down in Palm Bay, and it just opened up a couple of weeks ago officially, folks. It's a beautiful place. They have all types of care. If you need our help, you want to question Riverview Senior Resort, call Kay at 473-7770, and she'll give you their phone number. But back to Dr. Sheldon. We were talking about halitosis, and I said I was going to talk about a disease particular to sailors, and Lee said it was what we call scurvy, but then he also mentioned trench mouth. But the reason I want to mention those two things, and I want Lee to talk about it, is because one of the biggest things that I came across in all of my research, one of the most common elements in formation of bad breath is processed food. Do you believe that?
I think processed food does a whole lot that's no good for you.
Right. And, we're never going to get away from it.
Yes, we are.
Well,
don't eat it.
But, the way the world was constructed, we're not going to get away from it.
Wait, the world was constructed with processed food?
With what?
The world was constructed with processed food?
No. I'm saying that the way the world is now, with all the junk food places, fast food places, people on such a busy schedule, grabbing what they can to eat. I'm a big fanatic on it. I love those. Not the really sweet candy. I like granola bars.
Well, that's sugar.
I know it is.
It's not good for you.
It's not good for me.
No, not at all. Now, I'll tell you, before I came over here, I went over to a local health food store. I've never been there before. I think it's called Appleseed Health Store or something like that. And there was nobody there. And I asked for the portobello sandwich, which was made with live bread. In other words, it had not been cooked. It had been pressed and made with sprouts and with portobello mushrooms. And it was done in 5, maybe 10 minutes, and it was there, and I was eating it, and it was absolutely delicious, along with a nice quinoa salad. That was good. It was really good.
Okay, now compare that to what I would get when I would go to Panera's, and I would get the Asiago bagel with one single egg with some spinach leaves, and it's like a white cheese.
Yeah.
And it's baked. Is that bad or good?
Yeah, just take away the bagel and it's great.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be able to hold the egg without the bagel.
I'll give you a fork.
Lee, if you gave me a fork, I really, really like eggs. And my best way that I like eggs are soft-cooked eggs. When Terry cooks them in, the yellows will break in a little bit, and I can crumble up a piece of pumpernickel bread in there.
You like the pumpernickel bread. You have to have it.
But then you have to cook the eggs more. I'm only kidding. But
such a problem.
It's hard to win with him, folks. It's very, very, very hard to win with this guy.
Read my book.
But seriously. Our food intake controls more than bad breath, but it does contribute to bad breath. But some of the things that you and I have talked about over the years, excessive salt intake, excessive sugar intake, they're not only harmful for the enamels on the teeth, but they do more to undercut. You're getting a little noise here.
It's coming from there.
Okay, we're getting a little...
it's not a hurricane. It's not a
not
tornado.
It's okay now. It's not a tornado. But let's go back to what I was talking about. And scurvy and trench mouth.
Okay, well, scurvy.
Because these are things that people read about, but it still exists.
We don't still. I don't know about scurvy. Did you read that we have scurvy now?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I really didn't. But the reason I asked you about scurvy was the effect of oranges, apples, fresh fruit, eating more fresh fruit on a daily basis. Would that have a tendency to lessen the possibility of a person having bad breath?
Well, I'm not sure that it would lessen the possibility, particularly if there's still bacteria involved. And I don't think you can use fresh fruit to neutralize periodontal disease bacteria. I don't think there's any evidence to show that.
Okay, all right.
But if we're talking about doing things that are good for us, of course I'd recommend fresh fruit. And it is not just the vitamin C. It's the enzymes that are within the fresh fruit that are good for you. And so, of course, we would want that. And besides that, when you're having something that's a whole food, it's going to be easily digested. The body was made to digest that, as opposed to processed foods, which essentially the machine digested it and you've got what's left. That's a wholly different experience.
Okay.
Notice if you eat processed food and you ate, let's assume you ate processed oranges in some way and then you ate a whole orange, how would you feel afterwards? Let's assume you ate tapioca pudding and then you ate just a piece of fruit or a vegetable, how would you feel afterwards? Or go just as far as you can go and take processed wheat, whether we're talking about cookies, crackers, breads of any kind, and see how you feel after you eat that versus just having straight meat and straight vegetables. You'll see how your stomach feels in an hour, and I can almost guarantee you'd feel better with the non-processed food than you would with the processed food. Now, does this enter into bad breath? Sure, if you're burping a lot, it smells. Right. And if you're eating foods that don't cause you to burp a lot, it doesn't smell. So I mean, that's a gastrointestinal source of bad breath, and I'm certainly not a gastroenterologist, and they could cover that in more detail than I can. But the fact is, if you digest your food properly, it's going to go through you properly. And if you eat foods that the body can't recognize, the body is incapable of digesting, and those foods sit in the stomach for a long period of time, instead of going from the stomach into the small intestine and out, then you've got a smelly source of bad breath coming from your stomach.
Well, in my research, and then when you sent me some tick points on over the internet last night, I came across, and you mentioned yourself, things called morning breath, food breath, infection breath, stomach breath, and periodontal disease breath.
5 different kinds of breath.
Pardon? 5
different kinds of bad breath.
What's the most important of those?
Well, of course, I'm a periodontist. What do you think I'm going to say?
Well, no, I know. And it wasn't a leading question.
Listen, the bulk of the bad breath is coming from your mouth. We can talk about sinus sources, lung sources. We can talk about stomach sources. But the bulk of your bad breath is coming from your mouth. It's either coming from under your gums. It's coming as a result of periodontal disease. It's coming from the back of your tongue. And we never clean the back of our tongue. You know, the tongue is filled with a hairy type of substance called papillae, and the papillae get bigger as they go farther back in the tongue. And some tongues are hairier than others. Well, if you've got a hairy tongue, you've got bacteria stuck in the hair of that tongue, that bacteria is just going to sit and fester and fester and fester, and it produces a bad smell. When we're treating our bad breath patients, most people, of course, in our office, we'll make sure the periodontal disease is under control, and in most dental offices, they'll do that. But then we're going to go farther, and we're saying, well, what's the source of the bad breath? If we've done everything we can there, look to the back of the tongue. There's a lot of smelly stuff back there. And the way you treat that is to stick your tongue out. You put some drops of something like chlorine dioxide that we talked about in the first segment of this show. You put a chlorine dioxide mouthwash on there. You might even rub it with a toothbrush bristle or with the end of a spoon in order to dig out the bacteria that's on the papillae. And that will get to the source of bad breath that you haven't gotten to before. Back of the tongue is a bad place.
True story.
Yeah.
True story now. I was having that problem years ago, and I saw this black stuff on the back of my tongue, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I went over and I got some tissues out of Terry's box where she keeps the tissues, and I stuck my tongue out, and I had toothpaste on my toothbrush, and I grabbed the end of my tongue, and I pulled it so that I could reach back into my throat area and scrub that area with my toothbrush, and I had to hold my tongue because the first reflex you have is to gag.
Yeah.
So I was holding my tongue steady so I could scrub that darn thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It worked.
It does work.
It works. So, we need to think. We need to think about it. And we just pass over. And I wonder how I might have been really embarrassed over the course of my 80-some years that if I would appear to somebody with bad breath, a lot of times people that have bad breath don't know it.
And they don't, and other people don't tell you.
And they're embarrassed to tell you.
That's right.
We don't give our wives a lot of credit for some time. But
I'm sure our wives would agree with that.
Yeah. But I happen to have a wife that if something's not right with me, Terry will tell me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I don't always like it, but I appreciate it. And I'm not going to always tell her, but I'm going to go back and try and do something about it.
Yeah.
And if I notice something that really particularly antagonized her, then I'm going to make a big point of making sure she knows I did what I did. That only makes good sense.
Your public relations efforts are good, whether we're talking about helping seniors or whether we're talking about a family relationship. Public relations efforts really help. I really tried. Here's what I did.
Yeah, it do.
I mean, for the first part of it, and I gave a lecture to the staff this week on responsibility. And not responsibility as blame, but responsibility meaning being totally at cause over your particular environment. Once you know that you can be at cause over everything, and my assistants can be at cause over me, just like I can be cause over them, well, your wife can be a cause over you, just like you can be at cause over her, and both of you win.
Yeah. And one of the things I think as you're married to a person longer and longer, Lee, you think you understand every action and reaction, but you don't really.
No.
There's always a new way to look at something, and only the dumb one forgets to try to listen. And I don't always respond the way I should, and my mind is thinking one thing when Terry tells me something, but I try to remember it. But as we started the show, we agreed, folks, that we would remind everybody that I had Lance Jarvis on the radio show a couple of weeks ago. And Lance is the senior shine provider in the area. And we all need to remind ourselves that the open enrollment period started on 15 December, and it goes into, I think, it's 7 January or February. But it's one of the two. We've got a little time. But it's the one time of the year that you can make a change to your insurance plan and get it right. There have been so many changes in the tier costs of drugs, and right now, with Medicare Part B going up, and with the Social Security cost of living index staying the same, some seniors are going to be whacked a lot more on cost of medicines. That is why those of us that don't make as much as others should pay particular attention to the open enrollment period. What else would you say, Dr. Sheldon?
I just qualified for Medicare this year. I'm just learning the ropes.
You're what?
I'm just learning the ropes on Medicare. I just qualified. I just became 65. And so I don't have anything to offer because I'm learning myself right now.
Well, I tell you, if you do more radio shows, if you come on with Lance and me, we can have on-the-job training for you.
Well, how would you like to have a radio show with 3 of us rather than just 2 of us? Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh, my gosh. You and Lance and me?
Yeah.
I'll think about that.
All right, good.
I'll think about it. I heard a very, very concerning statement made to me the other day, folks. Somebody recommended that they didn't think that Shine did such a good job, and that the money that the state of Florida puts into the Shine program should be given back to the federal government so they can increase the size of their network that helps you get the Affordable Care Act insurance company things. I will make a statement. I think that's the dumbest damn thing I've heard in a long time. I like Shine. Shine does not advocate for any particular insurance. In fact, sometimes Shine goes against what's established in the county. Shine tries their very best to direct you to the program that's going to fit you the best, get you the medications you need at a cost you can afford. They try. They can't always do the job, but I'll give you this bit of insight. If you don't ask them, you will never know what you could have done or might have done better to help yourself. And that's extremely important. That's extremely important in taking care of our mouth, too, Lee. Too many of us think that the mouth doesn't indicate problems.
No, the mouth is probably one of the bigger indicators of problems. Why do you think the doctor asks you to open your mouth and say, ah?
Why do they?
Because there are a lot of diseases you can look at, and you can identify them by looking at the tongue. As a matter of fact, if you look at Chinese acupuncturists who are trained in acupuncture and they're looking for abnormalities, there are two things they measure. They measure your pulse, and they look at your tongue. And from that, they come up with an awful lot of diagnostic entities.
Yeah, they'd have to have a lot of tissues to hold my tongue, to stick needles in my tongue.
No. No needles. No needles.
What are those people that stick all those things in their... People with bipolar that stick all that stuff in their ears, their nose, and their...
I have no idea.
God. One of the biggest things that comes from the bad breath discussion, you mentioned, and I picked up on, and we got 1 minute, diabetes breath. Why is that important?
Diabetes breath, if you have sweet breath, the first thing you need to look at is diabetes. You need to have a blood test done. You need to do a hemoglobin A1C to make sure that sweet breath actually isn't diabetes. Because if you have diabetes, and this is uncontrolled diabetes, then you're more prone to infections, and you're less able to heal. And there's a lot of other things that are involved with this. I mean, we talk about diabetic neuropathy, all of the things that can change your life, that can result in amputations. If you have sweet-smelling breath, get that diagnosed and get that taken care of. It can make a big, big difference for you.
That's probably one of the biggest and most important things to come out of our whole show.
Good.
I'm very familiar with older people and diabetes, but we got to close out our show. And I want to thank you, Dr. Sheldon, for being my guest today.
I had a good time today, Joe.
I had a good time, too. I always have a good time. I just wish people, and we're going to be taping one of our radio shows, folks, and putting it on our website so people can see what happens in the studio. So maybe I have to get one of the shows with you and me on.
Hope so.
That'll be a good one. But our website is helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. This show, all our TV shows, everything else is archived there. So visit us at helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Our call key at the office, 473-7770. And thank you for listening. I'll be with you next week. Take care. Have a thought about a senior. We're looking for a closing statement. Talk to you later. Bye.